All right. I'm here with AK Lovelace. He's a comic book writer, right? You
Yeah.
helped created the comic book series City of Walls. You also
Yep.
you drew it and you inked it too, or did you have
I
help?
inked it sometimes. I had lots of, no, not lots is mischaracterization. I had some people help me out though a few times, more than help me out. I had some people ink whole issues for me, including the first one. So,
uh,
um,
City of Walls. It can be available at Webtoon, right?
yeah, it's on Webtoon, and if you want physical copies, you can contact us directly at cityofwalls.com.
Um, we met in college, right?
Yes,
How
yes,
many
we
years
did.
ago was that? Probably like
A
20
long
years
time
ago or
ago.
something.
It's a long time ago. So,
Yeah, yeah. We were all fresh-faced young pups back then.
bright-eyed, dare I say?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, you were actually out of our group. I think you were the first to actually become a dad. Was that?
Um, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think it worked out that way. I
yeah.
think it
Well, right
worked
now
out.
I have a
But
9-year-old.
you
So
were like right behind me.
right,
I,
very close.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It wasn't that long afterwards. Yeah.
yeah. I have a daughter that's 9, and you have a daughter that's what, 15
Fif-
right now.
15 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like teenager time now, right?
Yeah, she ain't like teenager. She is teenager.
Yeah. Well, wait, that's the time I'm kind of dreading right now.
Reading? Yes, yes. Around
How you
car
handling?
went fast. Huh?
How are you handling it?
How am I handling it?
Yeah.
Man. I think that I don't know, sometimes it just feels like parenthood is like constantly preparing yourself for this horrific and terrifying milestone and then getting used to the shock of reaching that milestone. And while you're getting used to the shock of reaching that milestone, what's really happening is you're building up for the next terrifying milestone.
Right.
And it just starts anew. So in that way, it's not different than when she, went from went from elementary to middle school, or when she went from, toddler to like kindergarten. It's all of a piece, but it's like the stakes are definitely feel higher, obviously.
Right.
Um,
Are you
and then
sharpening
there's just like
sharpening
the
the weapons?
aspects. Huh? Oh, sharpening the weapons. I mean, I try to make sure that she's she's sharpening weapons too. um yeah, man, I mean, it's different. And with girls, it's like with
Yeah,
girls, as certainly as at least as a man, with girls, it's just, it's just a different thing, man.
I know.
it,
I know. I mean,
it just works differently.
daddy's girl.
Yeah, man. And you, as a man, you know what we are, and that is a terrifying thing to like
I exactly.
wrestle with.
I have one myself. I know. I'm dreading it. I know.
Yeah, man.
As soon as she talks about like, oh, I have a crush on this guy. I'm like,
Why are you sweating, Dad?
why are you
It's like
grinding
you're
your
breaking
teeth?
out. You're breaking out and you're grinding your teeth. Yeah, man. I mean, good God. I don't know.
I got 2 boys now, and we have both a 2-year-old at the same time. It seems like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a 2-year-old too.
Oh my God.
Is he like super clingy to you right now?
Oh no, man. He is independent and like capable of massive amounts of destruction.
Oh,
like
of course.
he's a whirlwind.
My daughter, when she was a baby, she did not do as much destruction as right
Yeah.
now. Right.
Yeah. He will
Right now, we're scared to even put up the Christmas tree because I know that's gonna be gone.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's gonna be a whole lot of continuous yelling. Hey, get from over there.
Yeah, we
There's gonna
used
be
to
a
have like
month and a half of
action
that.
figures in the house, but now I gotta put them like high up.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Oh yeah,
can't
man.
grab it.
This one wants to climb and all types of madness.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And mine's like, he wants to be held all the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nah, mine is.
But when you
cool.
hold him, he doesn't want to stay on you, so he ends up like crawling behind my head.
Oh yeah, because he's
around.
too big to be like.
I'm walking in the street with a baby around my neck, like it's a scarf, you know?
Like some sort of anaconda. Yikes! Yeah, man. No, this one, and he's real bullish. He doesn't. It's just like a fundamental. It's like an animal. It's like a wild animal.
Well, yeah.
With a fundamental lack of concern for others' welfare. Like you will just step on and through things, and
right. And
I want to get up. I will climb you to get up, and that's...
also mine is like he doesn't care about like have any fear of anything. Like he'll jump off a chair, climb up on a desk and jump off.
Yeah,
I have to like catch him.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, not madness.
He does not want me to hold his hand when I'm walking the street.
Yeah.
As soon as I let go, he heads for the into traffic.
Immediately.
I'm like, why are you going into traffic?
Oh man. Yeah,
I didn't have that problem with my daughter at all.
Nah, my daughter was cool, man. We used to go out, and when she was like that age, I used to take her to the playground, take her for walks all the time. She would give me a hard time about holding my hand, but she wasn't like running towards the nearest car.
Mm-hmm.
But with this guy, he's actually pretty good when we go outside. But when he's in his arena and he's like knows that he has the the freedom and authority, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, forget it. All bets are off.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And and it gets harder when you get older like us, like we're in our 40s, and
oh yeah, man.
It's hard to keep up with these kids now, man.
Oh, yeah, man. Body starts hurting in places, and they want you to carry them and stuff. Cause I cannot, I physically cannot do that.
Yeah.
Do not jump on me, please. Please don't do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially I got a bum knee now. I can't run after you.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta warm up first. If I don't warm up, I could tear something.
Right.
Oh, that madness comes into play.
Does your daughter have any take any of your artistic attributes? Does she?
Yeah, I mean she does, and it's it's her mom. Her mother's a painter too, so she's getting it from both ends. So in that respect, I don't know how much of a chance she ever really had, but I don't know. I was very careful not to really push that.
Push her? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to be that parent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to be that dad that you watch on Real Sports special on
right.
Teen Athletics. The freaking the dude that you can see veins in parts of his face and neck.
Yeah, I mean, as an artist myself, when I see them drawing a figure, it's hard not to criticize them. That is not how you do it.
It's all wrong.
Why can't you draw a circle right, please?
Yeah, man. So I never wanted to try to mold her in that way. She was obviously exposed to it because she'd see me working. She'd be in the studio, all that other kind of stuff. She'd come to the con or whatever. So she was always exposed to it, and when she did, want to experiment, I always encouraged her, but I never made it a thing like, oh, you need to draw because daddy can draw or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Like I always kind of kept an eye on it and tried to be like even keeled, encouraging without being like overbearing.
Does she read comic books or anything?
Yeah, that I was mercilessly biased, and like all of that restraint that I just explained to you with the drawing, none of that existed with the comics.
Right.
You gotta get them while they're young, man. You gotta.
Yeah, I got all my kids into comics. Yes. My kids got stacks of graphic novels, and in school now, that's all they do. They read graphic novels, like crazy.
Yeah, man. No, with the comics, I definitely like got her exposed, and then, it was an awesome. I don't know. Like it's kind of an awesome. I think of it now. When I think of it now, I think of it as a kind of an awesome chapter in my development as a storyteller, because it made me look at comics in a different way than I had or was even really capable of up to that point. I realized how much of a place comics could play at a societal level. Because I'd get into conversations with other parents and be like, oh, how do you get your kid to read so much, or yada yada yada.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, one thing I did, I got her reading comic books. And comic books are visually driven media,
right?
But you obviously still need to read,
right?
But all of these kind of barriers that you typically struggle with when it comes to getting a child to read, a lot of that just doesn't exist in a comic book because it is so visually driven. So there's a lot of incentive for them to want to know what the words are. What's being said, if it's like a really masterfully done comic, they may be able to follow a lot of stuff without reading the words. So it's like a win-win-win. Just from
I also have
early reading perspective. I
have a 6-year-old. When he reads the comics, I catch him. He does not read. He just looks at the pages, keep turning. I'm like, why are you not reading? You're supposed to read also.
Yeah. I mean, but so because I remember when I was young and I was being put through the reading paces of early education, you'd have things that you're supposed to read, and there's like always this drag, it's always this, oh god, and I gotta read a book. Why do you have to make me read a book? And a lot of that I realized had to do with the fact because. And then one day, like I had to read a book, and it ended up being a great book. Like it ended up being like an awesome experience.
Right.
And as a kid, I was like, oh wow, I didn't, you're a kid, you don't know anything. So like it didn't occur to me that, there was a book that was actually exactly the kind of thing that I would be intrigued by. And doing that with written text is a different kind of challenge than overcoming that with beautifully drawn images.
Right.
So, it's just like and I realized that as a father getting his kid into comic books and seeing them like find comic books that they liked, and even the timing of it in terms of like where comics were at that time. A lot of things had broken open in terms of the idea of like whether comic books were the domain of Marvel and DC or were they this broader thing. And we're at that place where it was a much broader thing now. And like, so there was a comic book about like Girl Scouts fighting supernatural creatures in the woods, like, all types of like wild stuff that could easily appeal to different audiences that, weren't necessarily looking for what was the bread and butter for so long, and that worked out perfectly for my kid. So
tell us about the creation of City of Walls and your experience with Webtoon.
Okay, so City of Walls was a creator-owned endeavor that I came up with a long time ago. um, and basically it's centered around these children growing up in this marooned oasis of a city that was completely self-contained and run by gangs. And it was loosely based on a city that really existed called Kowloon. And you followed the wayward adventures of these three children that lived in that city.
Right.
And I teamed up with my buddy Sean Noel, who's a writer, and I pitched it to him, and he liked the concept, and we started to create what would become City of Walls.
Right.
So that happened. Then a whole lot of other things happened. we were somewhere, I don't know where we were. I think we were on City of Walls ended up being a 8-issue miniseries in total.
Right.
And we were on the second, or we were in the middle of producing the third, the what was the 5th and 6th books basically, when we were approached by Webtoon. And we were at New York Comic Con, and we were just another day at Comic Con basically.
Right.
And they saw us, and it was kind of instantaneous. It wasn't, it's a weird thing when you like the moment, and you kind of encounter it in stories that you're following. There's all these special effects around it. But when it happens in real life, a lot of the time it's like, it's not like that. But or maybe it is for some people, but I don't know. Looking back on it, it was really cool. Like, Webtoon, at that point,
it was pretty new back then.
They were new. I mean, they were new to us. They weren't new at all.
First time I heard of Webtoon was from you.
They were already huge in Korea, which is where the company is actually based. And so they approached us, and we exchanged information, and then the con ended, and we all went home, and like for anybody that's ever done a con, there's this detoxification period that goes on after the con ends. You just need to be away from all of the stuff that went into these 3 days of madness. And you have all the business cards that you've collected, and all the contacts and connections, and all the politicking and all that stuff. So that happened, and we actually kind of put it to the side, and then Sean ended up following up, and Sean followed up with them and secured the connect, and that's when things started to move.
Yeah. Have you gotten attention from people from around the world, like fans?
Yeah, man, we have a bit of a fan following. There's 15,000, I think, something. We have some sort of solid number of people that are fans and subscribers of the series.
I'm surprised Netflix haven't approached you to do an animated movie or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure
sounds a lot like something that Netflix would do,
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of things that go into all those type of things. Like this, as I've grown and spent more time, learning this environment, the entertainment environment, there are aspects of things that I know just from a production standpoint, budgetary, put you in a different place. So if you're trying to produce something that takes place in I want to produce something that takes place in 356 BCE, and it's oh, that sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah.
That sounds expensive to produce. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's something that I'm aware of. I have other things in the pipeline right now that I'm working on that are that are like prescient.
Mhm.
But like I know like I have City of Walls there, and you know these things take time sometimes and unfold in
Right.
unprecedented ways. Like Game of Thrones was written decades before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Show.
Hobbit was written what, half a century ago.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
hopefully you live long enough to see it, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was different. He was dealing with completely different circumstances. The technology didn't even exist to even attempt that, except maybe in animated form. Besides that,
but hey, yeah, I can tell you how many times I got approached by would-be producers, never went anywhere. You know,
hey man,
they're like sharks at Comic-Con. You know,
yeah, it's part of the game, man. Part of the game. Like, comic books are perfect movies, so
yeah. Well, Marvel already showed that, right?
well, yeah. I mean,
if they can make a hit movie out of Ant-Man, you know, they can do anything, right?
Well, I mean, you know, they're the perfect from a producer perspective, studio perspective. They're like the perfect vehicle. You know, the worst thing. The worst thing about a classic is you can't make a sequel. Comic books are all about the sequel. It's all about the sequel in comic books. You will forever have a sequel, and you can expect it to be better than the one before it.
Right.
It's like it's the perfect thing. Like they struck Powerball when they finally figured it out with the comic book movies.
I mean, at this point, Marvel can do a movie about name like the lamest.
They made half the universe disappear. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, I mean they turn Eternals into like a $500 million profit movie already.
Yeah, this is an obscure like
the most obscure.
Like deep dive,
really deep
dive Marvel, you know, character set. You know,
what's next? The Wizard movie.
I mean, I think it's cool, but yeah, it is wild that they've really kind of opened in some of the stuff. I've actually really enjoyed some of the stuff. Oh my god, What If? Oh my god.
Oh man, I love What If. Yeah.
What If was amazing.
And the possibilities for that show is endless.
Yeah. It was incredible. I mean, they the last 2 episodes of What If, they did stuff that I had never conceived of throughout my entire youth reading Marvel comics. It was like that just would have never.
And I can't wait till they integrate like more like X-Men and stuff like that. You know.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they handle the mutants. Yeah. The mutants question. Hopefully, it's not a debacle.
I mean, at this point, I don't think they're gonna screw up anything.
I'm sure they're gonna make mistakes. It's just they're gonna make mistakes. Whether or not those mistakes like overwhelm the entire model, I don't know, man. I mean, you look at Star Wars has made
man.
like
I think
every
Star
mistake
Wars
you can make, and it's
still right now.
I mean, it's made almost every mistake you can make with a franchise, and it's still kicking, still ticking along.
I mean, you like Mandalorian?
I didn't watch it.
I liked it. I think that's the best Star Wars material I've seen so far.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The last Star Wars thing that I watched and enjoyed was like real, like, okay, I really like the way they did that was Rogue Squadron. I thought that was cool.
So, okay, what are you watching? Movies, TV show, video game? What's making you geek out right now?
What's making me geek out right now? Right now, I am watching. Oh my god, what is the name of it? It's on Netflix. Begins with an A. It's animated. It's from League of Legends.
Arcane?
Yeah, Arcane. Yeah, I'm watching that.
Sick on that.
Heavy. That show is insane. It's one of the best executed things I've seen in a minute. I'm extraordinarily impressed and pleased with it. Watching that, I just finished watching this. I think it's made in Denmark. It's like a Denmark serial killer thing called The Chestnut Man, which I enjoyed thoroughly. I just finished watching What If, which I enjoyed a lot. What am I reading? I just got Shogun.
Okay.
And I didn't even really put a dent in it. I just really read the first couple of pages, but I'm excited to see how that goes. I know after coming to under a real understanding of like its significance in American, I hate calling it that, but American pop culture or American geek culture, maybe. But like, yeah, if you're into samurai flicks, part of the reason you're into samurai flicks is because of this book. So, I'm kind of.
There was a movie adapt.
Yeah, they made a TV show out of it. I think in the late '70s. Yeah, that was like huge.
I think I remember seeing that in reruns somewhere when I was a kid. Yeah. So you are teaching at the Harlem School of Arts right now.
Yes, I am teaching, and I am also now the chair of the media and design department.
Okay, and the course covers the full making of comic books, like from inking, penciling, layouts, writing too?
Yeah, so the comic book course at the school is kind of like all encompassing. We don't do as much of the writing thing, and that's something that I've been like very slowly kind of working and tweaking as the years have gone by, because it's just one of the most it's really interesting. It's one of the most difficult things to sell the kids on.
How old are the kids?
Mostly middle school, some high school. It's mostly around middle school and high school, and then in the courses that I teach, but they go all the way down to like elementary.
Do you print the work at the end of the year, or?
Yeah, no, we're working on that now. That's actually one of the new things that we're cooking up for the school. But we typically always had exhibitions. Everything after like COVID is COVID kind of like it was extremely disruptive, obviously. So, but yeah, man. But yeah, like you said, selling the kids on the writing is one of the more trickier things. But yeah, pencils, inks, letters. Yeah, man.
Coloring too?
No, but that's actually the next thing that we're about to get going. We actually are in the process of putting that together as one of our offerings right now.
Right.
So we could have an announcement about that in very near future, actually. So.
And this class is available. You can go there in person, and you can also do it online, or everything.
No, it's in person.
Yeah. During the pandemic, you were doing something.
Yeah, we did Zoom. We did Zoom school, man. We were early adapters of it too.
So you don't want to do like both right now?
It's not that we don't want to do both. It's that they
maybe take the class worldwide.
They operate in two different spheres.
Yeah.
Teaching a class in person and teaching a class via Zoom are very different operations, and trying to do both at the same time it's not a straightforward thing, and it's definitely not a straightforward thing with one teacher. That teacher have to have an assistant.
Okay.
But we understand that Zoom classes, just like you said, because during Zoom school we did have international students, which was a first, because first and foremost, HSA is a neighborhood institution. It's Harlem School of the Arts, so first and foremost it's Harlem centric, but and then New York City centric broadly. But that was the first time that we had student in London, a student in California, a student in Boston, that kind of stuff started to happen. And that was like presented like a very real, eye-opening opportunity, I guess. And just recognizing that this is the nature of, or an aspect of the nature of things to come, and that, you know, it's kind of like you have two choices as an institution. You could either accept that this is something that is going to be part of how things are, or and try to position yourself the best you can to be ready for that, or deny that and like try to stand in the wind against the future,
right?
And which you're probably going to lose that battle. So, you know, so it's definitely something that we're thinking about. We just haven't, again, it's part of the thing is that it's not so easy as, like, Zoom school is a very specific kind of vehicle, and to do it correctly, it demands a certain amount of respect to be done correctly. And that's where we are now, is like figuring that part of it out. So, okay, how do we do this correctly so that, you know, you get the enough juice for the squeeze, so to speak.
So what other projects are you working on? Anything coming up?
I have two other projects that I'm primarily three other projects that I'm involved in. The first is I got approached by some movie people to play the pilot role as illustrator in the comic book adaptation of a project that they're developing called In Evil Hours. So I got approached by them to do that.
Are they self-publishing that book, or is it going through?
Yeah, they're like self-publishing it, but you know, they got the connections and the money's real. So, yeah. So I got approached them, and it's a cool project, man. I really enjoyed it. It's been really great working with those guys, and it's kind of it was like a fun. It's a nice nod. Like it's a monster comic book. It's a buddy comic. It's a reckoning story. You know, like there's a lot of different things happening in it, and it's really cool. You know, it takes place in the American Rust Belt, the forgotten or abandoned Midwest, if you will.
Right.
And the prodigal son returning home to bury his father. And he comes home to find that his hometown is being overrun by vampires.
Okay.
And he gets into an unlikely partnership with the actual one of those vampires who is hell-bent on revenge for what was done to him.
Any particular actor that's supposed to be in this, or
on the movie side of it? I don't know. There's still like, it's the Hollywood game. So
usually they want you. Sometimes they want you to make the character look like the actor.
Yes. Yeah. So I didn't have to do that, but I did, like, when I was dealing with the producers, they did have people in mind that suggested to me, so that I had like some sort of like general kind of meaning, which was actually really helpful. So it was cool. I actually really like when, it's nice when people know what they want.
Yeah.
It makes life way easier.
Well, now that you have a little boy, you think you want to do like maybe a children's book? Maybe go in a different direction?
Yeah, so one of my other projects is definitely for a younger audience. It's not his age, not my son's age, but it's definitely for like my daughter's age. And I'm really excited about that. Children's books, like real littles, toddler size. I don't know.
Because right now it seems like regular graphic novels aimed towards middle schoolers is like selling better than all the superhero comics right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the age, man.
You go to
And
Target, all you see is like, you know,
yeah, I mean,
shelves of like
that's
graphic novels right now.
I mean, that's the age, man. And these kids are being exposed to a much healthier ecosystem of comics than we were. And we were in like the golden age of the comic book store,
Right, right.
which
I mean, I got my first comics from the newsstand, actually.
Yeah, me too.
You don't see that anymore,
No.
Which is, it's a sad.
Which is a byproduct of the comic book store,
right.
Ironically enough. But these kids are like growing up with an entire market of comic books from another country, in addition to all the stuff that's being made here.
And a lot of the times the school is actually offering free apps on iPads to read all these books for free.
Yeah.
I actually saw my daughter was using one of these apps, and she found one of my old books on there. I'm like, I didn't even know that I had my book in this thing.
That's awesome.
Like, what? Am I getting paid for this?
That's awesome. I need to call somebody. Yeah, but that's awesome though. That is awesome. I mean, yeah, man, but I don't know. I think that it's funny, we talk about college. One of our buddies, I remember one time we were talking and John was talking about one of his other friends who at the time was working on a children's book, and he was describing the guy in his room like before the deadline finishing up this job, and it was like none of the imagery was that of a children's book. Like it was a hilarious image he painted for us, and I always remember that, and it always makes me laugh. But I don't know. I think that when certain things are just not your lane. I don't know if like the super little children's book is really my lane. Like even from just a stylistic point of perspective.
Well, I mean, your style would probably be a little hard to adapt towards.
Yeah, and I don't have
to like really like dumb it down a little bit.
Yeah, I'd have to like really approach it completely differently, which isn't bad. It probably might even be a really healthy exercise, but right now
it's put a lot of detail in your work.
Oh yeah. Right now, that's just not my my lane right now. I don't think. All of my projects are have a certain amount of hard edges.
Right.
To subject matter for me.
But yeah.
I don't know if I really have it in me to ever completely remove from. So even my other project that I'm developing, which is for like adolescents, there's the great fairy tales, even though they're not explicitly they're able to be rated PG,
right?
But the really great ones still capture a certain fear of danger.
There is a darkness to a lot of those.
For you as a kid, where it's like Disney
you're
aware that this isn't a completely
safe
space. Yeah, that's what the great ones are able to achieve. And I look for that. So I look for that in my own projects. And I mean, there's a scene in particular in one of my projects where the main character has this encounter with some crows, but like hundreds of crows.
Right. That could be creepy.
And the whole tone of the story becomes very horror-esque. But I haven't like changed any of the language or like any type of violence been introduced. But it's like watching the birds. It's like just sheer scale of that many birds is like changes how you feel walking down the street next to them, you know.
And they could block out the sky with the darkness that wings coming at you, you know.
So like I said, like the great stories as a kid, you know, you never forgot that there was that element of this isn't a completely safe space. Like there's a darkness lurking. So
well, I will look forward to that. I hope I can see that soon. How what's the timeline on that? When can we see
that? That is a good question. I just finished going through a series of rewrites that finally finished up, and I'm basically.
So you're writing this by yourself?
Yeah, this one is like the new creator owned thing that I'm doing. That's like all me. Like City of Walls, was a spiritual journey. No, but like, you know, it's when you really set out and do like a creator owned thing and you're writing and drawing, it is a lot. And I think I'll never take that for granted again. I don't know if I did I'm sure I did when I started City of Walls, but you know, so this is when I decided to do this new project, which is the name of the project is Kid Bubblegum.
Okay.
And when I decided to do it,
I wasn't going to.
I wasn't like
again.
Yeah, I mean that's always a possibility. You know, we'll see. Right now, my main focus is
finishing it.
Yeah. I mean, not even just finishing it. My main focus is just like getting it like away officially and making sure that everything is, you know, solid from a actual production standpoint. And
have you ever have you ever drawn something you're fine with it, but then after a while, once it's finished, you're like, oh man, I want to change. It's too late to change it now. It's already printed.
Oh man. Oh yeah, man.
Any parts like did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, man. I think that's part of the process, though, man. I think it happens to everybody. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and he laughed about like he drew a book and like gave the person 2 right hands or something by accident, and then
yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and it happens, man. It's just part of the process. I think that, you know, you like, for me, one of the ways that I looked at it is that you are working at trying to it's like a piece of iron that's being hammered into steel, and like every time you strike the hammer, you're trying to eliminate as much impurity as possible. It's like the best steel is like 98% pure or some shit, something like that. So
don't worry, we'll bleep that out. We'll try to bleep it out.
Sorry about that. Sorry, kids. Return to the children's programming. So when I think about my work, I would think about the same way as like a piece of iron. And as you grow as an artist, you're getting better at knocking out the impurities, you know. So, you know, when I started City of Walls, maybe I was at like 75% of what I had in my head I was able to get out on the paper, and then halfway through it, you know, as I went through it, that percentage went up, and you know, and it never stops. It's never, you probably, you know, I don't think anyone ever gets to 100%, you know.
Right.
But you know, try to hit that 90 percentile where you put the book down and it's like, okay, you know, there's like a couple of errant panels in there where I just that annoy me, but by and large, I did what I was supposed to do on this.
On that note, we're gonna put this interview to a close. It was great talking to you.
Yes, sir. Thank
Let's
you,
not
sir.
wait another pandemic.
Yeah. Let's not wait another pandemic to
Yeah.
have another conversation. Absolutely.